Hi, I just released a new single and I kind of want to talk about it. But if you are new here, my name is Lilley. I am a singer-songwriter and poet. I'm really excited to share with you a little bit of the story behind my new single. If you don't already know, I have a new single out. It is called Drowning. It's out on streaming, Bandcamp. There's a lyric visualizer on this channel. I'll link it up there. I think that's the direction. I'll link it up there. But I would love your feedback. I'd love to hear from you what you think about the song. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about it. So let's do that today. Let me tell you a story. When I was younger, I used to go to the island of Bermuda. My mom is from Bermuda, and I used to spend the summers there. Every summer I would go and spend the summer with my grandparents. Sometimes with my father, sometimes with my grandmother. I got a chance to go to Bermuda with my family on a cruise. And so had a great time. But we went to a beach that I actually grew up going to. And it was great. I was having a great time. I was out there with my wife, my brother, my mom was on the beach. And we went out just a little bit too far. I didn't realize how deep the water was getting. Mostly because I'm not a good swimmer. So all I did was just keep going until I was like tippy-toeing. And there was just a point where I couldn't feel the ground anymore. And my head slipped right under the water. It was terrifying because it doesn't look like what it does on like TV. Drowning on TV, somebody's splashing, they're yelling, they're saying, hey, help me, help me. Drowning is very, very quiet. And for me, the drowning didn't start when my head slipped under the water. The drowning actually started when I couldn't find my footing anymore. So it started even earlier than that. And the only reason I'm okay is because a lifeguard, somebody trained to see me, saw me. Drowning at this point is probably my most vulnerable song I've ever performed. Depression is difficult to navigate sometimes because every day is not always a bad day. There's this assumption that when we're talking about mental health, there's always this feeling of despair that's attached to it. And that's not true. As a matter of fact, I posted this picture on Instagram when I first shared some lines from my first verse. Shared this picture to remind not just other people, but to remind me that depression is not the whole story. It's not all doom and gloom. There are some days where I am in a great mood, fantastic mood. And then there are other days where that picture is just not true. And then there's those in-between days where you can start to feel the shift. And that's really what the story is about, what the story of the song is. So I think one of the questions that I've been thinking about is, who's the song for? As an artist, usually I don't want to like define that, because if you hear the song and you're like, ooh, this is for me, but I don't want to block your blessing, you know what I mean? But maybe instead of telling you who the song is for, maybe it'll be easier to tell you who I'm writing the song to. I used to be like Doug, you know, the old cartoon Doug, and I'd start off my journal with Dear Journal, and then I'd tell the journal about my day, and then I'd sign my name at the end. But what I do differently now is that when I'm journaling, I'm actually writing to the Lord. So I'll start off my journal and I'll start writing, but the journal is me communicating with God, right? So that's what this song actually was. So one of the big things about the Psalms, Psalm 22 starts off with David writing the words, my God, why have you forsaken me? If you fast forward through that chapter and go and start the most famous Psalm of all time, Psalm 23, it starts off with the Lord is my shepherd. And I was so inspired by the fact that David had the kind of relationship with God where it started with like, where are you? What are you doing? It was that emotional honesty that really hit like right here. It hit right here for me. When I started writing and I was thinking about that transition into depression, I was thinking about how simple it can feel. I was thinking about how small the transition into depression can feel. But I also thought about the fact that sometimes when I'm praying, I only bring God the big stuff and never the small stuff. So that's why I wrote the song, because I want to bring God the small stuff and the big stuff. So I've been driving around today, and I kept thinking of that question that I asked earlier. Who did I write this song for? And I figured it out. I'm going to show you who I wrote this song for. Hold on one second. So in junior high, my family moved to the Bronx, and that means that I switched schools. And the school that I ended up going to was this one. All-boys Catholic school called Mount St. Michael Academy. I did not have a good time here. The problem during my time here was not necessarily my time here. One of the biggest problems was that I was depressed, didn't know it, didn't know how to deal with it. So to answer the question from earlier, who did I write the song for? I wrote the song for the 7th grader who moved with his family to the Bronx in the middle of the school year, didn't know he was depressed, didn't know he was drowning, had a hard time telling when the good days were going to turn into bad days. That's who I wrote it for. If you receive something from this song, then great, but that's who I wrote it for. The song is Drowning. It's on streaming, but if you like what you hear, you can click the link in my description and you can check out the song there. That's it. Love y'all. Bye.